Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the Gut Shot Podcast. I'm Shamsul, Sam. And today we have back our geopolitics expert, Mr. Jason Leong.
Yeah, thank you, Sam.
Yeah. Jason, let's jump right into this. I think we were talking about the ASEAN summit and then the APEC summit when Trump came over. I think we want to do a bit of an analysis on the current events with respect to that and how the world that we are in right now, especially now that the federal shutdown in DC, in America has basically over.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, with the crossover from the Democrat to vote to get the 60 vote.
Yeah. They're now just waiting for the House to meet, House representative to meet. I think within the next few days. So they will probably meet, and then all they need is a simple majority, and then that's it. Then proceed.
Then it proceeds.
So there is already an interim package being prepared.
Yeah.
So I think the money is coming out. So I think most of it's a good sign because the Democrats themselves felt that they cannot be seen to be keeping there holding the whole nation from ransom for politics because it's going to backfire. So these 8 Democrat senators who cross probably is thinking about the next election. So they would get some support because people will say, yeah, at least you don't only think about your own political power influence and keep playing politics. At least you say, okay.
I think it's a cave-in if you ask me.
I'm doing this for the people.
I mean, that's all performative if you ask me. It's a caving in, and the problem with it is you can see. I mean, the Chuck Schumer looks like doesn't look good coming out of it at all.
Yeah,
but
it doesn't look good.
Yeah, I think the real, if you ask me, the real threat to Trump's policies or action in terms of his so-called make America great again policies, I think is this challenge at the Supreme Court on his use of emergency powers for the implementation of tariffs. I think that's the one to watch because a tariff policy is one of the cornerstone of how he wants to turn around the U.S. economy.
Yes.
Right? I mean, and not just implement an import tax, which means that's to a certain extent addressing some of the deficit situation. The other part is actually reshoring, which actually he has, in essence, I wouldn't say, I mean, actually has put a catalyst even within the last 8 months of the administration, right? So that goes then to where we are at as a global situation. The maintenance of American leadership in commerce, in regulating the trade regime, right? Whether directly or indirectly, whether this is a unipolar world. Again, whether it's back to a unipolar world or whether was it never, because some people are telling us that this is a multipolar world, right? I beg to differ, but I mean, I have my reasons for that.
Yeah.
But, Jason, why don't you give us your thoughts on where we are at after the Trump trip? And by the way, I think I think it was a very interesting flip when Trump came here. The coverage of his attendance for both ASEAN and APEC, and then in Japan, and of course APEC at South Korea, right?
Yes.
Right. I think the coverage was extremely positive from the regional media.
Very positive.
Yeah. Which surprised me, actually, to be honest with you, right? Because we are not, I mean, our regional media are not known to be very pro-American. It's very more, it's very Asia-centric and therefore more pro-China. Go ahead,
True.
please.
Let me just go back a bit to the Supreme Court thingy.
Right.
Because the arguments are quite long drawn and it can get a bit complicated. But from what I see, the decision will be reserved and judgment will come out likely in about maybe next March or April. It will take some time.
Oh, really?
Because it's a very complicated issue. There has been quite robust questioning by the Supreme Court judges on the council. But in a landmark case like this, there are very high stakes involved.
Yeah.
But so far, based on record, the Supreme Court of U.S. Scotus has been quite deciding a lot of decisions which has favored Trump and Republican. I don't see any difference in this particular case because too much is at stake, and then the national security issue has also been raised. So if you take away that power, then what power does the president has? And should there be a judicial overreach in this case, where judicially the Supreme Court is trying to set certain limits? But also we need to remember is that out of the Supreme Court judges, at least 3 of them were Trump nominees in his first administration.
Yeah.
There might be a 4th nominee if Justice John Roberts retire, the Chief Justice. So Trump might get another chance to nominate another one. From what I can see, nothing is so clear. Mainstream media seem to like to report the negative part of it, saying that Supreme Court is going to rule against Trump. But it does not mean that, because asking a lot of questions, and I think the Trump lawyers are quite good because they are able to answer most of the questions. Anyway, so going into that, whether America is still the undisputed leader of the world on Unipolar World, I think the definition on unipolarity, perhaps we may differ there.
Yeah, okay.
On a traditional definition on unipolar world or unipolarity, meaning that there is one single power that is so preponderant that there is virtually no challenger. So we're so dominating. But I believe we can say that there are shades of unipolarity, degrees of unipolarity. Because if you go by the traditional definition, unchallenged, virtual one person, if you go on a slightly different kind of definition on unipolarity, say, if you define it as a functional or domain unipolarity, meaning that there is or there can be nations in the world who are very good in a particular sphere of influence. So that particular function or that particular domain, that may be a different kind of unipolarity. And there is also this two concept when a lot of academics and think tankers like to talk, oh, this is now a multipolar world and everything else, but they forget that there is a great difference between a multipolar world and multiple poles of polarity.
That's a good observation. Yeah.
Because in this world, this is a very complicated world, there will always be multiple poles of polarity. That means nations which control or has big influence in certain domains, they are a pole. For example, China will see themselves as a pole. We are big economically, we are big in so many things. So would Europe see themselves as a pole, because we were once a very great empire, we are still very central. And India would say, we are also a pole, because demographically, we are going to be the biggest and the most populous country in the world. And numbers has its own influence. It will speak a lot, and we can do incredible things with numbers. So South Africa will say, oh, as far as the African continent is concerned, we are a pole, because we are the leaders of South Africa. So everywhere, Asia, there's Japan, or even South Korea, everybody, or even Brazil will try to say, yeah, we are a pole in Latin America. But multiple poles of polarity does not equal multipolarity. Does not make a multipolar world, because
Interesting.
out of these multiple poles, each of them will begin to ally themselves to who is the biggest taiko out there, lah.
Yeah.
And inevitably that points to the US, right? So as you can see, all the big countries that matter, most of the European countries, Asia, Japan, South Korea, Australia, and even Southeast Asia, and even now we're looking at India, most of them are already leaning US. So it's quite inevitable now, because US will, by default, they already are the global leader.
But let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
Do you mind if I jump in? Just
Sure,
a quick
no, I
one,
don't
'cause
mind. Please do.
I mean, at this, because you said, I want a bit of clarity on your thoughts. Why do you think, or why do you feel that the other polarity, to a large extent, is jumping on to the American leadership? What makes you say that? Where do you see the sign of that? In what way?
Especially when Trump came in on this 2.0 administration, because Trump asserts leadership. He is a more assertive leader compared to the previous one, Biden, who was virtually on vacation, perpetually blur and unable to assert any leadership whatsoever. Not charismatic, unable to articulate anything. So people don't see that kind of leadership, and they also do not know what is the strategy and the direction that US wants to go. There's a lot of uncertainty. So when there is uncertainty, there will be competitors who will come in. Let's say, very crudely, the pretenders to the throne. People like China and all that will say, okay, now we are the alternative. And then even small pretenders like BRICS, as we know, is totally inconsequential, but they have an overrated self-concept of their well-worth and their well-being, and their importance. Actually, no, not important at all. So when an American leader like Trump begins to articulate his strategy and start to take action that is very clear, and he is someone who is prepared to use his power, whether it is military, whether it is economic, whether it is political or geopolitical, he's prepared to do that.
It's very strange, isn't it? I mean, the mainstream media, the left side of it, I think they coined the word taco for Trump, which is Trump always chicken out, right?
Yeah, always chicken out.
Yeah. Unfortunately, it's proven the other way around, if you ask me, right? He said he's going to implement the tariffs. He did. I mean, it's a pretty fundamental businessman negotiating tactic, which is always coming into a deal high and negotiate.
Yeah.
And bring it to a point where actually both parties can agree that, okay, a deal is done.
Yes.
Right? So I think, like you said, on that score, the Supreme Court has got a very high stakes it has to confer on, which is, you've got this about, at least I think they have at least $1 trillion already collected, and also the investments associated with all those tariffs and trade deals that they're gonna unwind if they go the other way around, right?
Yeah.
So that is a big stake. But you can see already, like you said, he's taken action. I think I had a conversation with an American friend of mine in New York on the last podcast, which I think, and I think he's quite rightly put as well. The action in Iran is a military action that was somehow I think it's a needed action
Yes.
to show the world that he actually is, or America and Trump, under Trump leadership, is willing to use military power
Yes.
if it has to. So you've got one on commerce, you've got one side on the military power, right? It takes back the situation, all right, and yes, you can say certain way he's a bit unpredictable in his actions, but that unpredictability is his predictability.
It's an asset to him.
Isn't it? Right?
Yeah, yeah.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
So, yeah. I mean, you see how the trade deal has come along. So I can understand why you go to the situation that, the currents has returned, or, the I mean, to where the polarity is, and it takes leadership.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You see, people see power and they can sense the power, especially when the leader like President Trump, who is quite prepared to exercise the power. So Iran is a excellent example. So Israel was the one doing most of the strikes and all the bombing until they needed some very special bunker busting bombs, that is only US has those. And when US needs to do that, Trump step up and say yes, he ordered the strike.
Yeah, no hesitation.
No hesitation. And he ordered the strike, and all the strikes were precision targeted. They hit all the enrichment facilities, right? And after that, there were no more, what do you call that? I mean, there can be, people say, oh, he didn't hit the plane. But you see, this kind of thing cannot be hidden. People will know whether you actually hit it or you don't hit it.
Yeah.
Even the Ayatollah and the supreme leader come out and say, we can always restart. I mean, why you want to talk about restart something if your thing is not already damaged? It's totally damaged. And you think it's so easy to restart the enrichment facility?
Yeah.
I mean, takes a lot of time. That means the major enrichment facilities have been destroyed. So now, on to restart, it will take years. And how many of the scientists are still left? Because as you know, in the run-up to that, many of the nuclear scientists
Were all taken out.
either assassinated, disappeared, or whatever.
Yeah.
Many of the Iranian leaders have also been taken out.
Yeah.
Including the former president. So we have a new president, and even the commander generals also taken out. There are many. So the only one left standing is basically people like Ayatollah.
I was quite surprised that they
coming.
didn't take out the Ayatollah. And I think maybe it was a strategic decision.
I believe it is, because if we were to take him out, I believe Trump said he knows exactly where he is.
Yeah.
But if he does that, there may be a backlash.
Correct.
If we're overdoing it.
Yeah.
So you have disabled most of the important things. So let the own people, the people in Iran decide. The Ayatollah himself is not that popular within Iran. So the younger people of Iran, the younger generation, if there is a proper democratic vote, because the Ayatollah is not voted in, like the president, right? So he is it's a very complicated three sector of power that elect kind of the Ayatollah. There's the army, there is the democratic parliament, and then there is the guardians, the mullahs. I think it's just a matter of time. It's just a question of when. He is also very old. He's 86 years old, and I heard health is also failing.
Well, I think the problem in in Iran, mostly like any country of that nature, whoever holds the gun is the one most of the time, unless the gun decides not to, to actually go to the other side, right?
Yes,
yeah,
true.
Always in a revolution.
Yes,
that's the whole case. That's what happened with the Shah.
Yeah.
Remember when he fell down? So, but I mean, moving back to our region, right, in Asia. There's one interesting development recently that I would like you to comment on and enlighten us, which was just recently, I think yesterday, the report was when China's envoy sent out a tweet or message or whatever, right? Which basically talk about the beheading the leader of Japan, right? For her basically saying that any threat on Taiwan is also a threat, or to paraphrase, to Japan, right?
Yeah.
That's a very interesting development from two angles. But I'd like to hear from you first, because she is a protege of Shinzo Abe.
Yes.
Right? Who was assassinated.
Yes.
Okay. So, and it was the same line that Shinzo Abe uses.
Yes.
Okay. So I think what do you see there? Let's first unpack that event, because I think that foretells a lot.
Yeah, certainly. Obviously, the Consul General of Osaka, the ambassador, his consul, who actually made that tweet, was probably doing it for his masters in China.
In Beijing, yeah.
So shows that I'm the brave guy. That wolf warrior kind of diplomacy, which I think is already overdone, and not the way that should be. It should also be noted that 48 hours after he tweeted that, he deleted that tweet. There was a lot of backlash. So I don't think Japan wants to do anything against him or remove him or kick him back, ask him to leave. I mean, it just shows, it reflects on him. For an ambassador who is supposed to be doing diplomacy to descend to that level, to say things like this, it really diminishes him. So it is a backlash on himself. And at the same time, Japan's position on Taiwan is also clear, because the new Japanese PM is saying that, any attack, because the sheer proximity between Taiwan and Japan is so close.
Right.
So surely anything that affects the neighbors would affect, to some extent, impact either the national security or whatever military balance that is in Japan or in that area, the seas. And the 7th Fleet is also positioned very close there.
Yeah.
I mean, the whole idea of the 7th Fleet being positioned there is already, it underlines that there is a need for some kind of security in that region, which can be very unstable. So it can just spark off. So no reason for Japan to say, it doesn't affect us. It does affect. So if anything happens to a neighbor, if anything happens to Singapore, I'm sure it affects us in Malaysia, right? So we cannot say that, because geopolitics is so interconnected. So that is where China is a bit too easily irritated and too prickly. This actually comes...
Why is that?
Yeah.
Why is that?
You see, China has always talked about two things. Our century of humiliation, where they undergo tremendous humiliation. And now we want
what are you referring? What are they referring to when they talk about a century of humiliation? I mean, enlighten for those who don't quite understand that part. Are we going back to the Opium Wars?
In their history, the Opium War, where they lost the war, they have to give away Hong Kong, and how the colonial masters control Shanghai, Beijing. Eventually, they were like carving out their own territories. The colonization or occupation of China at one time by the powers, 6 powers or how many powers there, right? And then after that, there was the World War, where Japan went in and the massacre and rape of Nanking. That was something that really affected a lot of Chinese people. Even up to today, they keep talking about it and they make movies about it, right? And
It's like how the Jewish people keep talking about the Holocaust.
the Holocaust, and and at the same time, there is one thing that they will always say that, oh, Japan is always very provocative when the Prime Minister will visit the Yasukuni Shrine. That is the war memorial shrine in Japan. The last Prime Minister sitting.
What
Prime
else are
Minister,
you expecting him to do? I mean, irrespective of whether you are, you've got to basically honor your veterans,
Exactly.
regardless whether you think that they are on the wrong side or the right side of the war.
Yeah.
You know, you got to visit your veterans, your veterans memorial.
This is a memorial for those who died in the war.
Yeah.
Right. Of course, people always conveniently forget that there were 2.5 million Japanese who died in the war. And that memorial was basically erected to remember them. And out of the 2.5 million, there were 14 war criminals that was prosecuted at the International War Tribunal, war crime, post the surrender of Japan after World War II. And they were also buried there, right? But the fact is that this is a memorial to remember those who died, Japanese people. I mean, every country has their
Every
own
country
memorial,
has a memorial
right? We
for
have
their veterans.
ours.
Yeah.
Pearl Harbor.
China
has its
probably
own.
has theirs.
China,
US has
right?
theirs.
So
Australia has their
have
NZ.
their own. So
Yeah.
nobody takes issue with that. But why take issue with it? And I think it's also unfair because this is also a shrine, a kind of a temple, where the religious belief of the Shinto religion
Right.
believes that this is a form of a purification process
I see.
in their religion. So if they go and offer, put offerings there and they pray there, this is to pray for all those dead to purify. I mean, they may have been very violent and committed a lot of sins during lifetime, but we pray that their sins will now be lessened and what. This is part of the religion. It's a very cultural thing,
Yeah.
right? But China has decided to look at things in a very, I think they're politicizing it to stir up the anti-Japanese sentiment in
Right.
China.
I guess you know what, you have actually brought up a very interesting point, which is I never thought about it that way. Because if you think about it, right, my thoughts has always been, why is it so the Muslim countries are very up in arms with Palestine, but not up in arms with the genocide in Sudan, for example? Okay? Because it serves their purpose as political leaders to push the attention away to what they conveniently see as their natural enemy that they have been indoctrinated with, which is the Jewish nation.
Yes.
Right? So I think you're right. I never thought about it that way.
So
Because you know what? You're right. You know what? I mean, look at the Japanese people. Okay? Sometimes you just like, they are so docile, right? It's really a joke. My sister actually studied in Japan. She's retired now. She was a teacher of Japanese language. She was in Himeji, right? So I visited her and I stayed quite long as well, and she always tells me this story. Yeah, that's it. The thing with their culture also is they're very top down.
yes,
And therefore, I mean, just like what happened in Nazi Germany, right? Your top leader can get your people to do atrocities or your soldiers to do atrocities. It is not Japanese. It is not German. Every society, and if we go back to even in China, I mean, China was not a unified country.
Yeah, exactly.
right?
Right.
So how did this got unified? We don't have the record of the atrocities of the conquering Han clan, okay, to unify the country, right? We just don't have any. So long ago in history, we don't hear of whatever that has happened during that period. So that's a good point. Yeah.
China also, you see, they do this because that's the way for the Communist Party to secure its position and saying that that's it. I mean, if you have got domestic trouble, China's economy is not that great. There are a lot of challenges. I think succession also is an issue. So when you have a lot of domestic issues, the easiest thing for a politician of that country is to point to an outside enemy, a foreign enemy, and conveniently Japan, So that's where everybody focuses on Japan. Japan is the bad guy. So everything on them. So people technically, in a way, forget the local problem. So this is exactly what the Communist Party is doing. So they are politicizing it. And the worst thing is that, I mean, if you really want to be honest about it, has there been correct? Is there even their own reckoning of their own political leaders in the past? For example, Mao Zedong. Mao Zedong himself was instrumental in causing tens of millions to die in that long march, in the hunger march, die of hunger.
Yeah.
So much so there are actually official records that said he was 70% correct, but he was 30% at fault. So still,
that's their official record.
That's the official 30%.
Yeah.
That means, okay, so if you are at fault for 30%,
how many people died in the long march?
The figures vary from 10 to 40 million. Huge.
So let's take 3 million then.
Yeah. Still, right, for any civilization or any country who has a political leader that has actually caused the death of so many people, there must be some
reckoning,
moral reckoning. Has there been an inquiry? Has there been a national inquiry and trying to find out what actually happened? And then, okay, accountability. You see, look at Japan. Japan, there's accountability. They lost the war.
Yeah.
They were subject to international tribunal. They had to surrender. They had their constitution changed and amended.
Yeah.
Demilitarized constitution.
Correct. The constitution itself is pacifist.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, you see, I mean, who dictates the constitution?
Yeah.
These are the foreign powers,
Correct.
the winners of the war, and tell Japan that they shall no longer have an offensive army.
Can you imagine how humiliating that is, actually, if you think about it from a national standpoint?
National standpoint, which country would subject themselves to that?
Yeah.
But they did.
Yeah.
So for a long time, even up to now, the constitution cannot be amended. It's like that.
This is my I mean, sorry, I'm going to digress. A short one, right? This is my biggest problem with the whole Palestinian issue. Okay, you lost the war, and all your countries are partitioned in the Middle East and North Africa, right? That was under that there was not even a Palestine in essence, actually. To be if everybody were to really understand history, there are no Palestinian people. They were in essence people who were living in Jordan and Egypt, of what it was as partition after and then there's the British mandate, right? And it's called Palestine, the British Palestine. Accept it. But you go to war, you lose it, right? And you still don't want to. I just saw a news report yesterday that Hamas is refusing to disarm, right? So you are just asking for it again, right? When are you going to stop your war, right? So we go back to your story. I digress. I just want to make this point, right? But I mean, the point that you're making, I think there's been no reckoning in China, whereas there's been reckoning in Japan.
No reckoning in UK too. What has the British done about their centuries of colonization? You think they didn't abuse all those colonies?
Yeah.
Ours included, India included, Myanmar and so many other colonies all over the world. Taken all their jewels, and now they are all part of the crown jewels.
I so we go back to this situation in China and Japan. The fact that Japan, I think it's very interesting that Japan is willing, as we said, if we call this regional polar now that has been talked about as shifting to China, all of a sudden you've got Japan coming up and making up its own mind and saying, look, I'm going to stand by Taiwan effectively, right? And to me, I've always said this, Taiwan is almost like Ukraine, right? What Ukraine is to Russia, Taiwan is to China, okay? There's no problem. You can't say, Dave, you want to say that's your territory, okay, go to war, right? And I don't think that's going to happen. And I do believe that had Trump won, there would have been no further war in Ukraine. That's for sure. I'm very confident about that because why? I don't think Putin would dare.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
Yeah. So right now, when we look at it, you mentioned China. So let's go back to China then, right? So they have their own internal problems, and I've been reading back again and trying to update myself on what is happening. So Xi Jinping actually survived the fourth plenum. Because they would talk about him not surviving or actually losing certain positions. My theory actually is that because of all the tariff talks, because of APEC and all that, actually he survived more because of Trump. Because China cannot lose face.
Yes.
What do you think?
And the factions that are against him also are quite circumspect and very careful because they do not want to be seen as initiating a coup against their own
It is
leader.
really not the CCP way.
That's not their way.
Yeah.
Right? And they don't want to be responsible and say that you are the one that pull down, topple a leader in that kind of outward way. So things are done in a very always try to do it below the radar.
Right.
And if you read the things that actually happened, I have read one news report. This is from the Chinese media, because the entire fourth plenum was not open to media.
Okay.
That means it's a closed door meeting with several.
Is that
hundred
odd
leaders.
or is that usual?
It has always been that practice.
Right.
Because
okay.
this is internal discussion.
Okay.
But when you have several hundred leaders, some of those people who attended that would definitely say something. What happened? People will be very curious. And there are apparently enough people, the leaders, who said, actually, it started off with a self-reflection and self-examination session for all the leaders, including Xi Jinping. So Xi Jinping, because this is the communist way, right? So all the leaders must write all the things that you have reflected, your mistakes and all that. You have examined yourself, and that's how you want to improve. You have to read it out. It can be quite embarrassing because here you are owning some of your mistakes and confessing to it and say, I did this wrong, I did that wrong. It's part of that process. It's also an interesting thought. Mao Zedong never did that.
Well, he died.
He died, right? Or even when he was alive, he didn't do it.
There was no...
Right? In fact, Deng Xiaoping opposed his policies because he was making all kinds of wrong policies on agriculture. But of course, he got away with it. So Xi Jinping actually did that, and many other leaders also did the same thing. But there was one important development that many people may not have noticed, is that the CMC, the China Military Commission, where Xi Jinping is the chairman, and General Jiang Zuxia is the
Vice chairman.
VP, vice chairman. And there was a vacancy because General Hu Weidong was sacked earlier on. So
was he sacked as part of the 9?
Yes,
Okay.
he was one of the 9 that was so very, very high. And Hu Weidong was always seen as Xi Jinping's man. and he was removed allegedly for corruption. In China, every leader that has been removed, it is always for allegedly corruption. Very convenient term.
I know.
Right? And there was a replacement.
Okay.
So General Zhang Shen-ming has been appointed as the replacement, the second deputy chairman.
Right.
And both are also Zhang Yuxia, Zhang Shen-ming. There has been rumors that they are actually related.
Okay.
And this guy who has been replaced now has got actually very wide powers, because he's now in charge of discipline, he's in charge of investigation, he's in charge of enforcement, and he's also in charge of personnel management.
Oh, that's powerful. Personnel management.
Very powerful.
Yeah.
Right. And
That's HR.
yeah, HR, right? And why suddenly he's in charge of personnel management when by right it should be Xi Jinping? So that means there has been a little bit of if you read between the lines, there appears to be an erosion of powers, of Xi Jinping's powers. His wings has been clipped. He's still the chairman, perhaps nominal, and the rumors is that Zhang Shen-ming was actually appointed by the number 2, Zhang Yuxia, who appointed him. So, which means at the military commission now, Xi Jinping is outnumbered. Because his 2 deputies are actually not his own people. Right?
In fact, the 9 generals that was removed were all Xi Jinping's people.
His loyalists were all removed.
I mean, it took a while for the state media to actually acknowledge the removal, and actually say that the removal was at Xi Jinping's instructions. But it took them a while, you know. I don't think so. I mean, this is the part about you remember when we used to say Malay politics, you know, is wayang kulit, right?
This is a Chinese.
This is the Chinese version of wayang kulit. You know, you got to read between the tea leaves. You know.
Yeah. Because the princelings that were earlier on ousted, Bao Xilai, those who were aligned to Jiang Zemin, the former president, or even Wen Jiabao, they are back because they are now also trying. These are the party elders.
Yeah.
Those who had to give up their presidency because of term limits, 2 terms.
Yeah.
But when it came to Xi Jinping, he amended.
He abolished the 2-term limit.
Yeah, he abolished it, and he's now installed himself. There's no term limit.
Yeah.
So I mean, how would these people feel? Right, the former president say, "Hey, we had term limit, and we could have stayed. We could have done the same thing." But so there is a lot of internal dissatisfaction. So it's just a matter of time. So, of course, there will not be a sudden shift. The transition will be fairly gradual. It may happen after the 21st Party Congress, which is in 2027. Yeah, 2027. So we've got about another year and a half.
That's what, 20th Party Congress or something like that, right? 21st.
Yeah,
okay.
the 20th was in 2022. They have a Party Congress 5 years, once every 5 years.
Right.
Usually after the Party Congress, there will be some movement in terms of changes. And the plenum is somewhere in between. That's why this year, 2025, is the 4th plenum. And that is where some movement already started. So I think they are already in that transition. And as you can see also, the rise of the former princelings. Starbucks sold 40% of its stake in China.
To who?
The grandson of Jiang Zemin.
Oh, that's something. That's interesting.
Yeah, so who are amongst those which were associated with Bao Xilai, the alleged corruption people? I mean, the group of princelings are those people whose father were related to the earlier leadership and all the way maybe even to Mao, right? So including Xi Jinping. Xi Jinping's father was also with Mao and all that. So there was a fight among all the princelings. So Xi Jinping took the opportunity to remove all his competitors.
Right.
So many of them.
So if we just quick one, right?
Yeah.
So if you talk about the factions within the CCP, so we got the Princelings faction, which are all the blue blood, so to speak, of the
Yes.
party, and then you've got basically the party elders as another faction,
Yes.
right? Those who were in power previously, they still hold
Yes.
so-called influence because of where they were before, but because of the term limit, they stepped down, but
Yes.
they are very influential.
Yeah.
And then the third faction is what? The military or what? What is the
Yes, the military faction.
which is Jiang Yuzhia, right?
Yeah, Jiang Luxiao.
Right?
Oh.
Which is a real direct competitor
Yes.
to Xi Jinping,
Yes.
you know? And he has taken full control, I would think,
Yes.
if you really ask me, you know, I mean, of the military.
Yes.
You know, it's going to be a very interesting situation because this is the problem I felt China have, and I think a lot of at least our Malaysian audience, right, don't realize it about China and its direction after Xi Jinping consolidated his power, because they were really in a real strong trajectory when Jiang Zemin was doing his reforms. Tiananmen Square, if you ask me, happened
Yes.
because of the relaxation of freedom, right? And the problem always with having more freedom is you're going to have some chaos,
Definitely.
okay? And that was taken advantage of. And that pushed him aside out,
Yeah.
and Jinping took power. They thought he was a safe bet. He was a safe guy
Yeah.
to that. You know, they didn't realize he had more ambition than that. You know, and it always is after you got decades of being in power. The problem is always single party is corruption,
Yeah.
right? That's I mean, even without single party, we got corruption,
Yeah.
right? And the other thing with the economic policies, then it becomes one man, and everybody's going to tell you you are great.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that's their root cause of where they are. And the wolf warrior diplomacy that you mentioned just
Yeah.
now, you know, because the hubris of staying in power for that long, and that's I think is what we in Asia need the counterbalance.
Right.
You know, so we go back to now we talk about the counterbalance, right?
Yeah.
I was making a mention that I think America, after they have not even sent a new ambassador into Kuala Lumpur.
Congress needs to confirm. The name is there, but I think they need to go through confirmation process.
Yeah.
It will take a while. I think they are too preoccupied with the shutdown.
Yeah.
Congress is not meeting.
I think Singapore has just got their
Yes.
new
Yeah.
ambassador.
Yeah, I think in due course.
Yeah. So I mean there must be a balancing act going, you know, as a follow up to Trump's visit.
Yeah.
You know, that then because let's talk about this then, because I think one of the things that people don't realize, and I think the mere presence of the Pacific, the fleet, the U.S. Navy fleet,
Yeah.
right, has actually been good for the world
Yes.
in terms of trade, protecting shipping lines.
Yeah.
That has been a very big allocation of capital
Yeah.
from a superpower, so to speak, right, to be the policeman of the world.
Yeah.
You know, people don't realize just how much that allocation of capital has actually benefited global trade, that has benefited everybody in the world.
Yeah. Because
You know,
you look at the Red Sea now is okay. Gone are the days where the Yemenis or the Houthis were just launching all kind of bombs and all that. They have been more or less
piracy.
been taken care of. Piracy, no more. Strait of Hormuz is not closed despite all the Iranian threats. So it will remain open. Strait of Malacca, definitely. Even South China Sea, the U.S. carrier group, the Nimitz, is already coming into patrol the waters. And of course, we have on the other side, USS Gerald Ford just arrived near Venezuela.
That's going to be an interesting
That
development,
will be
isn't it?
another interesting development. So,
Yeah.
so in that sense, so if you're talking about freedom of navigation, security of sea lanes and shipping lanes, it's good for the world because now you cannot simply disrupt the world by blocking sea lanes and causing all kind of threats to the ships and all that. So this is one good thing that the U.S. has done, asserting its power and making sure that everything is okay and the world trade goes on. China benefits from this, actually.
True. Absolutely,
Yeah.
right?
So
I think 70% of the shipping is from them,
yeah,
is theirs.
that's
They're riding on this particular protection.
yes. So
Yeah.
so what is there for them to complain? And then of course they will say, "Oh, South China Sea, this and that." But when it benefits them, they don't they don't acknowledge it. So this is the problem, right?
I think I'm more comfortable with the China equation. I mean, when they had the term limit for the presidency,
Yeah.
because it keep them keep the at least there is a check and balance.
Yes.
You know, I mean, we never saw the type of presence that we see in the South China Sea by the China Navy
Yeah.
against, encroaching into Filipino,
Yeah.
even Malaysian
Malaysia.
territorial waters, and them claiming it in such blatant terms.
Yeah.
I think people need to realize this part, because this is the concern that we all should have, because I keep telling my Chinese friends, actually, the China leadership or the Chinese in China are not our Malaysian or Singaporean Chinese.
They are very different from us.
Yeah.
They are very different.
Yeah. They're already very different from the Taiwanese. The Taiwanese,
Yes.
actually, if you ask me, has evolved to a certain civilization where they no longer, there used to be a time when they were throwing and punching each other in parliament, right? That's no longer the case. They have adapted to
yeah.
democracy
That's right.
properly. So it's a very different China in Taiwan.
Yes.
So we've got to accept the fact that that's a different country. The same way we say Malaysia is a different country with a huge population of Chinese, ethnic Chinese. Singapore is a different country with a huge population.
Yeah.
We're not part of China.
No, we are not, and we don't want to be. Our mindset is so different. Chinese Malaysians are very different from Chinese from China. You see, the whole mindset of China, they keep playing up, that I mentioned earlier on, the century of humiliation. We were humiliated. Now we are now building up and we are rejuvenated. What is the third step? Implicit in that. Why are you talking about the humiliation? And now you're saying we are now asserting ourselves. The third step that is not stated is that we will take revenge. This is where the problem is. If you start any diplomacy or any relationship with humiliation, now I'm strengthened, now after that, what else? So if you keep harping on the fact that, oh, my great-grandfather, your great-grandfather killed my great-grandmother, and that is never going to end.
The funny thing, you're right, the thing is that we don't think in that terms.
We don't.
Yeah.
Right.
Nobody thinks in that terms here.
Malaysians, we were subject to Japanese occupation. Many of our relatives were killed by the Japanese. We don't have
atrocities.
Atrocities. There were many.
Yeah.
Right. We don't have issues with that.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, it's done. That's
It's
history.
over, right?
Yeah.
We
move on.
Closure.
Yeah.
Right. And they say that's it. The past is past. Now we are friends and we do trade.
Yeah.
That's how our relationship with Japan today. Look at Japan-Malaysia relationship.
Yeah.
The trade, incredible.
Yeah.
I mean, America,
If
Japan.
you hold on to grudges,
Yeah, America,
you get-
Japan.
like the Arabs.
Exactly. So America-Japan relationship is at all-time high today. I mean, do the Americans and Trump keep saying that, oh, I cannot forget Pearl Harbor?
Yeah.
No,
Finish.
they have moved on,
Yeah.
right? What about Americans can keep harping on the fact that, oh, is the English that have occupied us? We ran away from them, and yet they came over, and then they tried to conquer us again. We fought the Anglo-American War.
Yeah.
I mean, there will be no end.
No
to
end
it.
to it. Yeah.
No end to that. So if you keep talking about the century of humiliation, for what?
Yeah.
So just leave it closure and then move on.
You know, that is one that gives me also a very interesting part about my observation about the Jewish experience, right? If you look at the Jewish experience, what do they say about it? They don't talk about humiliation, you know, when they talk about the Holocaust, they talk about never again, right?
Yes.
Not to forget and
Yes.
never again,
Never again.
right? So it's not about, it was not a humiliation. It was to actually ensure that they are always protected.
Yes.
They are, you know, they
Yes.
have. So it's a different mindset.
Yeah, very
you know.
different. Yeah.
So when you look at what happened in the Middle East, for example, I can understand
Yeah.
how they are going to protect their territory.
Yeah.
Okay, so right, so I think it's a good jumping point at this point because you mentioned Venezuela, and I wanna go there for a while and shift away from Asia,
Sure.
right? Because really, I think what Trump has established is, for lack of a better word, the hegemony of the unipolarness in terms of the spectrum of American power, right? I see it very differently how he's projecting that power with respect to their backyard, or even their sphere of influence, so to speak. Trump is not the neocon mindset of changing regimes, actually, but he will go, you know, and to do things that will protect America's interests in terms of, and I don't blame him in one sense, right? Because I think people are talking about the Venezuelan oil and all that. They don't need that anymore. America is the biggest producer of oil and gas in the world today. They have more than they can even consume, right?
Yep.
Venezuela's oil and gas infrastructure is dilapidated,
Yeah.
you know. But the problem has always been in that part of the country, including Colombia and whatnot, is basically the drug cartels.
The drugs. Yeah.
It's like it's like guerrilla warfare,
Yes.
and they have almost taken over governments, if you ask me. I
Yeah,
mean,
it's-
money. We're
that's why
talking about
it's called
$1 billion trade. Yeah.
A narco government.
Yeah. What do you see happening? I mean, how do you see what's going to happen in Venezuela, and especially Venezuela? Why not? Why, you know? Why Venezuela?
Well, Venezuela is a huge
Why
country.
not Colombia? Can you please enlighten us?
I think Colombia might also be part of the equation because they're all connected. The different drug cartels, and they're smuggling in even Mexico, right? Going through Mexico, and that is why it is so important for Trump to do the first thing, to build a wall and to make sure no more illegals coming in to stop the drug. So now the drug flows are coming in via the seas, right? And it's quite incredible to actually read about drugs being smuggled through submarines.
Fantastic, isn't it? That's how rich you can be, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you imagine? So the drug traffickers are at that level. They can even own submarines. So that means, are they being funded by the state or what? So that is where sometimes...
I think they're richer than the state.
Yeah. So that is why it blurs. And then, of course, China will always say that we are not involved. But they supply the chemicals, the precursors to make all those drugs. So America, of course, Trump wants to protect his own people and cut off all this. That's why all these attacks on all the drug smuggling boats and all that. And at the end of the day, putting aside the oil issue, if the leader of that country, Maduro, the president, refuses to take action against all the drug lords and all that, then he just have to go. So that is why it's a bit complicated. People say, oh, that's regime change. But regime change to solve a different problem, the drug problem. So recently there was a little bit of seems to be a shift in opinion. Everything, the military has been all well positioned. Gerald Ford aircraft carriers strikes force is already there. So it's all building up to something very big. But then suddenly Trump was reported to say he has second thoughts. There was a resolution that was tabled in the Senate to stop the declaration of war, invasion of Venezuela. I think Trump softened a bit, partly I think he wanted to make sure that the resolution does not pass. So it failed. So he won by 51-49, very close.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Oh, I missed that particular news.
So if Senate had passed the law,
okay,
that means the president's arms will be again shackled by that. So he got that through, and I think also he didn't want to be seen as such a warmonger because the shutdown vote was more important. So I think so he kind of softened everything and say, yeah, no, I'm reconsidering the strike and all that. So nothing. And then he got the shutdown vote through. So the filibuster was broken, 60-40. So he got those votes. So therefore, the beginning of the reopening of America government. So these are the things that he has done. But that was last week.
Yeah.
Right. So this week, things can change very fast. Anytime he can do a strike, but looking at the way he is operating, I think the CIA has also already came out and said that they are already in there. That means special forces or maybe non-military forces are already there. Trump's philosophy will not be sending American boots on the ground, basically American soldiers to be on the ground. But I believe the normal official soldiers may not be sent in, but there is always the possibility of sending in the private military contractors. So these people are private. Technically, they are not considered soldiers. They are military contractors. You pay me, we go in and we do our own thing. Right? As good as soldiers. So I believe that can be done. So if at all any of those body bag come home, it's not American soldiers' body bag. These are military contractors. So that might just happen. So
I totally did not count that particular angle. Okay.
Yeah.
Go. Yeah.
Same like Iran. I think if at all they do an actual invasion, military contracting, the private military contractors are having a very good business. Nowadays, you can contract it out. So these are the people who are mercenaries. Just pay them and get it done.
That's a different side of war, isn't it?
Yes, different.
Yeah.
They don't need to wear American uniform or American flag. It doesn't reflect on them.
Yeah.
And whatever the actions, you can disavow.
Oh, sounds like Mission Impossible.
Right, so that's a new angle. So I believe it's just a matter of time. It's not whether or not he will go, but just a matter of time when Maduro will have to go. I also hear rumors that he is actually negotiating for an safe exit. So he wants the bounty of 50 million to be removed on his head because he has got.
Oh yeah, he's got a 50 million bounty on his head.
So you want to go anywhere, you try to go to Saudi Arabia, somebody will just behead you, take 50 million. not safe to go anywhere.
Yeah.
You want to go to exile, right?
Right.
So he needs that to be removed. Then he needs safe passage to a country or place of his choice where he can live safely in exile. And thirdly, he wants his own timeline. That means not immediately.
I don't think he'll get that one.
He became president in last year. Venezuela election is 6 years once. So from what I heard, he wanted 3 years. So he said 2 to 3 years from now. I don't think Trump.
I don't think he will get that timeline.
Will give that kind. 2 3 years too long.
Yeah.
So he might get some months or what. So these are things being negotiated at the end. So the moment he gets this, then he will just go, right? And Trump being Trump, always transactional and negotiating, this is his ball game.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, if Trump is able to achieve this, I mean, a lot of credit will go to him, because if you can engineer a change of government or whatever, remove the drug problem from threatening America without sacrificing lives, well, that's a major achievement.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So this is what is happening. So I think matter of time before we will see. So
That's a very interesting angle, because I think the drug cartels has been operating for I think the problem with the Democrat administration is the soft on crime policies that they have, right? They are trying to court the so-called minority votes and whatnot, right? And I don't understand it, but then again, that's politics, I guess. Right? So the other effect of that, and also the lax immigration, is it just play into the hands of the drug cartels, you know. So, but okay. So I mean, we framed the situation in terms of the unipolarity returning with the leadership that is being provided from the American side. I think quite well. We got Asia. We've seen what's happening in the Middle East. I think it's undeniable, right? And I think South America, we're gonna see that happening. I mean, we've seen how he's kept Argentina afloat.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
it's very interesting. I'm, you know, it doesn't seem to sit well with the America First crowd, but they don't. I kept telling my American friends this. Your America First must understand, how did you get to be first? You know, you get to be first because of what you are doing in all these areas. You know, so that's the other part that actually they've gone. They need to recalibrate.
You know, Scott Besson made a very interesting remark
Right.
about Argentina. I
Sure.
think yesterday.
I didn't catch it.
People, I mean, as usual, legacy media, CNN would tell him, "Oh, this is another bailout. You know, you're putting so much money in Argentina because he's your friend and all that. So it's a waste of taxpayers' money." Scott Besson told them, "Do you even understand what is a swap line? We bought, we lent to Argentina, but the Argentinian currency, after the re-election and victory of Milei, again, landslide, the currency has actually appreciated by 20%. So it's not a bailout. All bailout means the country who provide the money will lose the money. But here we provided the money, but we have just made a profit of 20%. So what bailout are you talking about? Right? So here we are. So this is...
That's a businessman way of doing things.
Yes, businessmen. So they knew. So they look at it as an investment. I put so much money there, but I know the money is going to come back. So now Argentina is rebuilding, and a lot of a positive outlook in Argentina.
Why is he so sure? When was he elected? I mean, Milei. I mean, why did he have... I thought he was not that long ago. Was it that long ago?
I think the system might be a bit different. I think this could be the parliamentary election.
Right.
where his party won.
Okay.
So it's not the presidential.
It's not the presidential election.
So this
Okay.
is, but it's enough to secure. That means he has got a very strong majority,
position. Okay.
strong majority in
Correct.
there.
In parliament. Okay.
Yeah, in parliament. So that means it actually reinforce and reaffirm his position and his popularity.
Yeah.
This is even a better measure.
Well,
of
that's
his,
exactly my thought when
Yeah.
I was speaking about the midterms and for Trump, because I think that whatever the economic measures that he has taken, he's got no second term anymore, right? Okay, let's be frank. No matter what Steve Bannon want to say, okay, and the only way his policies are going to continue is for his successor to be able to be president. And the only way that's going to happen is if he delivers on all the economic fronts, if you ask me. And it has to be delivered, in my opinion. I mean, ideally, and I think it's the best way before the midterms, so that he doesn't lose both houses of either one. I mean, I think the Senate is pretty safe. It's the House that's probably going to be a bit more challenging, because you want the agenda to flow through.
Yeah.
Right? So, my thought are always like any business we do. Once you say, okay, I'm going to implement this project, right? Capital allocation, drawdown, implementation, and then seeing construction being set up for the project and people getting hired. It's going to take you about 12 months, at least 12 to 16 months.
Yes.
Right? So then only you'll start looking at improvement in terms of hirings, in terms of all these investments that are gonna come in. So, midterm is next November.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think, the campaigning is probably, he's got to get results. Inflation especially, because when you talk about inflation, it was very high when he took over from Biden.
Yeah.
So if inflation is already at that part, and you've got, even though he's got inflation down, in terms of growth, inflation rate, it is still higher than what it was before he left his first term.
Yeah.
Right? So it's about bringing the cost down. It's very different. So that's the challenge I see in terms of this president for next year. Or the first half of next year. State of the Union when? January?
Yeah. I also had an interesting conversation with one, not from US, some guy who just made a remark. He said that Trump actually can have a third term, inverted commas. So I said, how? He said there's nothing in the law to prevent him from standing as VP, Vice President.
I don't think I know that's been floated. That's been floated before.
Okay, Vance can be president and Trump VP, but I agree
doubt
with you.
it. I seriously doubt
it.
it.
He would do
I
it.
seriously doubt it. I don't think it will sit well with the American electorate, regardless.
It won't. Yeah,
I don't think that's a good strategy.
There's no need for him to do that, actually.
Yeah.
But Vance has to really do a lot of learning in this time when he's VP, so that he can gain that kind of stature, so that he can actually be seen as the actual successor for Trump come 2028.
I mean, I've been observing actually how, when you've managed big organizations, you sort of notice a few things, and I made a remark before that I find it very interesting how he has been utilizing Vance in everything. It is almost a mentorship.
Yes.
So it's basically that. I could see it. That's how a CEO mentors a COO, to take over from him when he steps down. But what I don't, but what what I think the challenge will be is to deliver the results before the time for you to start going for election, right? It has to deliver the fantastic results that they promised.
Yeah.
If they don't, because there's been a lot of chaos what he has done,
True.
right? And anybody in business who has done restructuring knows that, it's all chaotic. It has to be, because you want the result fast, and you've got to you got to do the way Trump is doing. You ask me, that's what I would do if I was even the Prime Minister of Malaysia. That's what I would do, because you need to turn around the country, right? So I think maybe to close out this discussion, Jason, how do you see moving forward? How does he consolidate the remaining part, especially in Asia, right? In terms of American influence, because I think that we don't realize in Asia, because we've got such a Chinese-centric community, and maybe to a certain extent anti-Western mentality, that we don't realize all the gains that we have had. It's like these people who made so much. It's like people who are well fed, doesn't realize how actually their parents has worked very hard to make sure that they have the wealth that they have, and they get, they want to get out of the parents' shadows, so to speak, So I feel that we don't really realize how the world changed after World War II, and why from that the evolution of course, America is not perfect.
Yeah.
No country is, no leadership is, but if you ask me, that's the best we got from human civilization so far as I can see. So how do you see, especially their positioning, what they need to do with respect to Asia and consolidate? This is a big growth. Right?
This is where the growth is going to be.
Yeah, we have about Southeast Asia. We got about 680 million population, right?
Yeah.
And we really, the growth, the industriousness of the people is despite resources. We have very little oil. Let's put it this way. 700,000 barrel or less than that now per day is nothing.
Nothing.
Right? But for example, for us, okay? And oil is not really going to be that much lucrative anymore, moving forward. So what do you think? What is there? What needs to be done here in terms of the American influence within the Asia Pacific area?
It may even go back to the discussion we had on the Unipolar World. We may not exactly agree on what is a Unipolar World, but for me, I see Trump has actually recalibrated the Unipolar World a bit, because now he has put some strength and power into it, which includes actually the military power is very important, right? So in this part of the world, I mean, you have seen Defense Secretary, or now we call him Secretary of War.
Yeah, Pete Hegseth.
Pete Hegseth. He was here just after Trump.
Yeah.
So he was
and he stayed longer, eh?
Yes, he stayed longer
that
because
was
he
very
had
interesting.
a lot of engagement and meetings with the Southeast Asian ASEAN countries, the defense ministers, the generals, and all that. And that's important, because that engagement, because he needs to send out that message that Southeast Asia, ASEAN, South China Sea is important, right? It's important in the sense that do not let other people bully you in Southeast Asia and South China Sea. So if you are going to be bullied, America will stand there for you. So it's a slightly different message because many of the countries who are having dispute or claimant states on South China Sea against China have a lot of issues with China. And as you know, China will from time to time do their own incursion at their leisure. And there's very little that we can do. So if they want to fly 26 jets across our airspace,
what are we going to do?
what can we do?
Yeah.
Right. So stuff like that. Philippines is getting the brunt of it because they are getting water cannons, this and that. And we are getting some think tankers from China and say that you should be lucky that we are using water cannon.
Yeah, they
That kind of mindset.
That kind of mindset. People here doesn't seem to recognize the mindset that is coming out of that.
I mean, from water cannon to rail cannon is just very small step.
Yeah.
And it's very dangerous. So that is why unintended consequences or incidents, encounters at sea in the South China Sea can easily spark. And we have seen so many of these already spark in the Philippines and everywhere else. So it is reassuring for U.S., especially Secretary Pete Hegseth, to come and say, look, we will provide that kind of security because the security for South China Sea is for the prosperity of all. So that is good reassurance. And not only that, he has actually begun to put actual military assets here. There was a donation of 2 vessels by US to Malaysia actually to help.
Really?
Yeah, there was. But I think we didn't want to play it up very much. That was,
I didn't even hear that news.
Post-Trump visit.
Really?
Yeah, one of those things. I think maybe it could be one of those things that Malaysians are smart enough to ask. After all, we did so much for you, so you make a small, tiny request. I mean, no issue, a couple of ships. Okay.
Yeah, they probably can let go about a 20-year-old ship for us.
Yeah.
What is it for them?
It's a good sign, right?
Yeah.
And I think also Secretary Pete Hegseth has also begun to revamp the military assets of America. I mean, of course, many people say, oh, you're far behind China. Where is your hypersonic and everything else? So America is now beginning to put all that. And then the aircraft carrier. China is now parading their third carrier, the Fujian. But people seem to fail to realize that the 3 aircraft carriers that China owns, one is the Liaoning, which is an ancient, antique carrier from Ukraine, I think, or the one bought from all the 3, then the Shantung and then the Fujian. All 3 are diesel powered. None of them is nuclear powered. So which means they have not been able to build a nuclear powered carrier. Whereas US carriers
are all nuclear.
All nuclear powered.
Yeah.
That means you don't need refueling. So you really talk of
the technical gap
is quite a bit.
Yeah.
And if you are talking about space, many people have also forgotten that who put the first man on moon? 1969, Neil Armstrong, US. Who else has done it?
India. Have they put a man on?
No,
they just
they're planning. China, for all their great advances and technology and everything, has not yet put a man on the moon. And their first planned mission for man on the moon for China is 2030. So can you see the gap?
The gap is huge, actually.
I mean, if China can put a man on the moon tomorrow, they would have done it.
Yeah.
Right. So they are not able to. Right. And in terms of satellites, who is having this great advantage in terms of number of satellites that have been shot up there? Thanks to Elon Musk.
Oh God! Yeah, talk about he's shooting
US
like
has easily the Starlink network.
Yeah.
Is easily about 10,000 satellites all over.
Yeah.
Low orbit, and China, despite all the 6G, 7G that they talk about, they have only something like about close to 800 satellites up there.
That's a mad genius, that Elon Musk. I tell you something. Yeah. He make a perfect Ernst Stavro Blofeld.
I mean, you have one Elon Musk, he's such a great asset to the country. So he is actually galvanizing NASA and everything else. And let's not be naive that Starlink is totally civilian. Any satellite, any instrument
yes.
can have a dual use.
Yep.
It can be militarized anytime.
Yep.
Right. And he's smart enough to know.
He knows.
He knows.
He knows. Yeah.
And if you read the record on NASA and the FCC or the approval for number of satellites to be has been approved for Elon Musk Starlink for the next 5 years is 42,000.
Wow.
So this is the number of satellites that he's going to put up there.
Wow.
And this will be third generation, fourth generation satellites with AI and everything else. So in that sense, US is far, far ahead in terms of the space. So which means that America is investing in the right thing, spending money, doing things like that. So very much that will help retain their position of leadership or hegemony in the world, and even about the dollar. There have been too much talk about de-dollarization, blah blah blah. People forget. Let me put these facts very clearly,
Okay.
so
Let's
that
close in that. Yeah. On
our
that.
people will know what are the facts.
Right.
Because everybody will quote China. Oh, China has reduced the U.S. currency treasury holdings from 1 trillion. Now it's only about 700 billion, 750 billion. Therefore, de-dollarization has started. It's the end of the dollar, whatever. There is these custodial services called Euroclear and Clearstream. Euroclear in Belgium, Clearstream in Luxembourg. These are specialized custodial services who actually buy treasuries anywhere in the world. Most of them US treasuries. This is private institutions. And because they are private, there is no need for them to declare who are their clients.
Right.
But from the reading of it, if you look at the one holding the lot of currencies in the world today, actually is Belgium and Luxembourg. I mean, where does Belgium and Luxembourg got that kind of money to hold all these trillions?
Don't you? You know what I suspect? I'm just going to jump in and just say this, right? Probably private Chinese citizen.
Chinese citizen, Chinese government, Chinese individuals. So if you look at that reserves in U.S. treasuries being traded as custodial services, they're holding as custodian in Luxembourg and in Belgium, close to about another 600 billion. So that is like undisclosed.
That sounds like the depository of reserves for whoever wants to pass it on to somewhere else.
Yeah, because they are like a trust,
a sponge.
Yeah, so they don't reveal. They are not subject to all these.
You don't even know what's in that sponge.
Yeah, in fact, Russia had something like 200 billion there.
Oh, yeah.
But unfortunately, because Russia was involved in the Ukraine war, there were some sanctions. They were forced to reveal. And there's a big jackpot of $200 billion that belongs to Russia, either by the Russian oligarchs or some Russian companies who actually hide the money there. So China hide the money there. And also Hong Kong is also another big, depository of US dollars. Hong Kong global reserves, forex reserves under the Hong Kong Monetary Authority is 95% in US dollars, US treasuries.
Wow.
Yeah. That is another 500, 600 billion US dollars. So if you add all up, you see, every time they talk about the global reserves of China, it comes out to about 3 trillion. And then they say, oh, US currency held by China Bank is only 700 billion. How? So why the great discrepancy? 3 trillion, and then you have 700 billion, and then you say, this is de-dollarization. No, if you add up all the thing that is happening in Belgium and Hong Kong and everywhere, it comes out to close to about 2 trillion. That is the amount that China is actually holding, and China is also now not only investing in U.S. government treasury bills and bonds. They have gone into buying agency bonds, meaning Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, all these semi-government agency which also issue bonds. So they also own that. And then they also invested in corporate bonds, which are US dollar denominated. I'm sure they have invested in Tesla. They have invested in Elon Musk companies and many other companies in the US. They have taken a stake. So all that is US dollars denominated. So there cannot be any de-dollarization. So this is where the picture that is being shown is that, China has moved away and all that. No, there's no way they can move away. Right? If you ask any China exporter today, when they export things overseas, they will ask you to pay in US dollars. Right? Or especially if they export to US. US will pay them in USD, and they're very happy with accepting American dollars. Do you think they will take the American dollars that they have and then change it all to renminbi? No, they will keep it.
Yeah.
Right?
This is what business people understand, actually, if you ask
so
me, rather than listening
Nobody will want to change it to renminbi.
Yeah.
Right? So despite all those, they say, we have cross-border renminbi settlement, those are very minor, or less than 5%.
Yeah.
90%
of transaction in the global market is in US dollar.
Yeah. Even for oil, I mean, you are an oil man. Most of those transactions are in US dollars, right? So who wants to pay for oil? Even Russian oil, Russia sometimes also I don't want rubles. I want US
why
dollar.
would I want ruble?
Yeah.
Why would I want ruble? You pay me in US dollar, I don't have to bring it in.
Yes. This is exactly what it is. So the reality is that. So.
I think, I think on that point, this has been a great discussion, to be honest. This conversation is great. I hope everybody enjoys this. Thank you, Jason. We'll see you again. Hope everybody get something out of this. Please like, subscribe, and so that you get another of these interesting episodes every time it drops. Thank you so much. See you all again.